Facebook.com/WICR Iona College Radio.
Back here on the morning show, Sassy Sacks, Kayla Kosack, and before the break, Kayla said that she's got a whole new thought process about sports, and during the break she told me it's going to take a turn. So without further ado, Kayla, you have the floor.
Legitimate turn, because it's not about sports, it's just where our conversation brought me to in my mind. So we talked about how... we just talked about upsets, I think we could just categorize them as, where we're motivated and we think it's going to happen and we're pretty adamant and pretty sure that that team is going to win. But then it just doesn't happen. You know whose life that is? Leonardo DiCaprio.
I can see that.
That poor man.
that poor rich billionaire movie star actor
who hasn't won a single Oscar. We nominated him. We put all our hope and all our faith into that single man because he's only created fantastic movies.
Can't argue with you there. I am a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan, and okay, yeah, you're right. I mean,
there's no reason he shouldn't have won. The man was in 35 movies.
Yeah, and he's done such an outstanding and a wide range of characters that you would think that he should have snagged at least one Oscar sometime there.
And everybody only thinks of him as Jack Dawson from Titanic. But I don't think anybody recognized the skills he had when he did What's Eating Gilbert Grape. He played an autistic child as if he were actually autistic. He studied the lifestyle, and it was just remarkable. I grew up in the Autism Society, so I'm very familiar with the different things that come with it, the stimming, the emotions that come with it, and he did it to the T. He really cared about the part. Now, I love him as Jack Dawson, but he would say if he were to do it now, he would do it differently.
I'm sure.
But going back to What's Eating Gilbert Grape, I think that's some of the best acting that's been out there. And he wasn't even recognized for it. Nobody even thinks of it because they shadow it with Titanic. Titanic's still, by far, like, my favorite movie. So I'm not saying I don't like the movie, but just the acting that man is capable of. And then you have Django, where he's an evil slave owner, but then he's Jay Gatsby, and he's fantastic.
Or take you back to when he was Howard Hughes in The Aviator. I mean, that movie won Best Picture. He did an outstanding job portraying Howard Hughes, and such a great movie and a great job by DiCaprio there. The Departed,
Wolf of Wall Street, Growing Pains. He didn't even get a show for being on award for being on the show Growing Pains.
Unacceptable. J. Edgar.
Yeah.
I mean, this conversation is kind of reminding me of Meryl Streep, probably one of 2 or 3 best actresses of the last 30 years. And I think she's had 12 Academy Award nominations and has only walked away with 2 with the award twice, I think. And when you look at that ratio, you'd say, oh, wow, she's always, the bridesmaid. But I'd say put her up against any other actress from the last 30 years. I'd take Meryl Streep.
I think she's heavily respected, and she stands in her own category.
She does, and that's what's so amazing about it. That even though it's only going to say Meryl Streep, 2-time Academy Award winner, but I think it's more impressive to be nominated 12 times, and that whenever someone beats her out, they're like, "Wow, I just beat out." In their acceptance speech, it's, "I just beat out Meryl Streep," not, "Oh, I just won this award." It's Meryl Streep. And I think that pretty soon Leonardo DiCaprio might have that same aura around him, even if he doesn't have the wins or the award recognition or titles to go along with it.
Right. And I also think the fact that the people recognize this shows him some more support. I mean, he was retiring that was the plan. He was going to retire before Wolf of Wall Street came out, I remember. And I don't blame him. Because he probably thought to himself, nobody cares. Nobody appreciates my movies. When he didn't get an award for Wolf of Wall Street, I think that's when everybody came out of the woodworks and came out with their picket signs and chanted, "We love Leo." Because I saw it all over my timeline that everybody was very upset about this. And I understand. I didn't join the parade, but I agree. I was very upset for him. He's so talented.
He is. And DiCaprio, I think that he is, for our generation, the poster actor. Mm-hmm. You had,
if it's not Ben Affleck.
I think DiCaprio has a lot more mainstream followers than Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck is a little more outside of the mainstream, and I think that the thing that really put Leonardo DiCaprio over the top was, of course, Titanic, and Ben Affleck didn't have one signature movie that you can point to and say, you know what, like, this launched his career. This was what made him a household name.
He did In My Heart.
That's
Pearl
true.
Harbor.
That's true. My favorite Ben Affleck would have to be Good Will Hunting.
I never saw that.
That's a great movie. That's one of my top 5 favorite movies.
Is Robin Williams in that too?
Yes. Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Minnie Driver. Just an outstanding movie. And I actually, ironically, that came out the same year as Titanic, I think.
1994?
No,
or didn't that 6?
97.
Titanic came out in 97.
And it's... I watched... I remember a few years ago, I watched like the two of them in pretty close succession, and I remember thinking that I think Titanic, historically, obviously, has been credited as a better movie, but I think personally, just I connected with Good Will Hunting, and I think that in large part it goes to the directing job of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They I think wrote the adapted screenplay for it, and then directed it and everything, and just the job that movie does is outstanding. But I think Leonardo would be a quicker one to name as the actor of our generation than Ben Affleck.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just really love Ben Affleck too. But I was obsessed for a while with Leo. I used to watch Titanic 13 times a week.
A week?
A week.
For how many weeks?
For an entire summer. Because I did Titanic the musical, and I had to get to know every part of it, unknowingly that the musical is not the movie. They're very different.
Who were you in the musical?
I was the bellboy. I died. We had a ship sink on stage.
How did that?
And I slid down it.
How did that happen?
Hydraulics.
a stage is pretty flat. How did it work to get the ship to appear as if it's sinking on a flat stage?
We had a ship. Then in the ceiling, we had hydraulics pull up one side of the ship, and it made it look like it was going down because it was on an angle.
That's impressive.
It was very impressive. And we have the biggest stage in the county, so it was a pretty big stage to fill. Dutchess County, that is.
Well, it was a pretty big ship.
It was.
It was.
I used to know the exact dimensions. I used to know everything about the ship. I think it was 11 stories high.
Sounds about right.
One of the opening songs is "How Did They Build Titanic? Near 2,000 feet in length." So it's near 2,000 feet in length. So it was a big ship.
That's cool. I'd say that the Titanic and ships of that nature were the equivalent of cruise ships today.
Probably.
Back for 100 years ago or so, just a gigantic mammoth of a vessel moving on water. But
and all they had to do was hit it on. If they just hit with the bow, it would have never sank.
Yep.
So aggravating.
You
didn't know that? You had to turn? You had to turn and you had to sink and you had to kill all those people.
Then there would have been no Jack and Rose, though. There would have been no story about Jack and Rose.
But you know what? Then Leo would have still never won an Oscar. So I don't think either way he really cares anymore. He still would be Jordan Belfort. He probably would still be Jay Gatsby. He'd probably still be in Django and all the other films he did a great job in and wasn't recognized for.
You know what's another great Leonardo movie? Revolutionary Road.
I didn't see it, and here's why. I think I'd get very emotional with them as two different characters together.
I could see that. You'll be making comparisons.
I'm too emotionally attached to Jack and Rose that I can't see him and Kate Winslet as a married couple.
Too emotionally attached to Jack and Rose.
Because if you think about this, she lived, he died. But you always wanted him to marry her because everybody wonders, how can you have not told your husband about this person you fell in love with that saved your life when you were on the Titanic? So y'all know that she would have definitely married him if feasible, if he continued to live, and if she shared some space on that door.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. What angers me most about that movie is the fact that there was enough room for both of them on the piece.
Granted, it probably would have gone under a little bit, but at least their hearts would have been able to stay above water.
Right. The majority of their body would have been above water.
Right. It just like they would have been uncomfortable and a little chilly.
Right.
It's like sitting on a float in a pool when you have two people. Yeah, it's going to go down a little bit, but you're still afloat.
Right. That's what, like, I remember when I was watching the movie, I was thinking, can't you just move over? I was like, does he have to be laying in the water? Can't you just move over?
And there was other furniture. There were more people who didn't have that idea that you could just go on something else.
Yeah.
Keep your heart above the water.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was, I believe. His heart just couldn't take pumping the cold blood anymore.
Yeah, that was like the one thing that made me angry about the movie. Great. The
one
movie.
thing, not the fact that it hit an iceberg, because it could have just went on. Lived.
Well, see, I just accepted that fact. I'm just like, okay, that's what happened, sure, but like. Because that's historically accurate. That part is historically accurate. But the fictional part, the part that they can make up, the part that it's okay to,
The whole relationship was fake to begin with.
Exactly. Like, they're not real people, so why not have both of them live?
Because that's not Hollywoodian sex.
Well, maybe that's why I should go into sports and not Hollywood.
I agree.
So, anyway, we've been rambling on enough. And I think now that we came to the realization that I'm not going to go into Hollywood because I'm going to go into sports, we should call it quits.
I agree.
Okay, so that was Sassy Sacks, Kayla Kosack in the morning. We will be back on the airwaves next week. Thank you all for tuning in. And you know what? Always remember Jack and Rose.
Always. Never forget. Heart will go on.
Why should we worry?